All right, so I've been talking about doing this for like a year now, and I think it's finally time to put a climbing wall in here. I've only got a 1-car garage, and I want to park in here. So this is put some interesting stipulations on it. The idea here is that the wall is going to go up against this wall, and it's going to hinge at the base here, and it's going to be able to fold up flat to the wall and get out of the way. And then when you want to use it, you can just fold it down. The side benefit to that is you can pick whatever angle you want. The other downside is the ceilings are only 8 feet high, which limits me to an 8-foot wall. The mini moon board's that same height, so I think it'll work fine for just a little training wall. You know, I've toyed with the idea of putting an extension on it. So when it's out here and it's steep, there's gonna be a space between the top of the wall and the ceiling. I don't know by how much yet. I could do the math, but I don't really wanna do all that. So I'm just gonna wait and see how much room is there, and then I might build a little extension that could like slide on the top of it somehow or attach. But yeah, this should make more sense as the build goes on. We got a little box going on. So you can see it sits on that 2x4, and that between the two, that's where the hinge will go, where the hinge is. That bottom 2x4 will be bolted to the ground so that it can't go anywhere. I don't think it would move much anyways, but just to be sure, give us some security. And as you can see, it's like a pretty snug fit up there. Unfortunately, so as you can see, like this 2x4 is sitting on top of this one, and it would have been nice to just lay the top one on the top, but the room was just not there, and I would rather have the height than the width, because you could flip it and do that, but I just had to cut 3 inches off of that so it would fit in between. And the bummer there is that for all the studs, all the vertical studs, we're gonna have to do the same thing. So I think there's a total of 4 that'll go in there. So I had to make 4 like stupid 1.5-inch cuts, but whatever, you know, final product's gonna be sick, and it's gonna fold up against the wall, super nice. And then when we wanna climb, we'll just back out the car and fold it down and have a session. We've got our doubled up cross members here in the middle going. They're not screwed in yet. I think I'm gonna have to get some angle brackets. You can screw in some of them from the side, but then as soon as you put more in, those ones can't be. So it's gonna be a mix of angle brackets and then just screwing them in at the end. Just got back from Home Depot, got some angle brackets and some 2x4s and some screws. So should be able to get this thing going now. And yeah. Okay, so I just finished putting the last cross member in, and we've got a nice gridded out frame. This thing ain't going nowhere. 3/4 inch plywood's going on the front. This is gonna be sturdy. It might be overkill, but that's all right. You can see, this is how we did the brackets. We got them on each side here, but not on all of them. So over here, drilled the screws in this way. There's one on the top, one on the bottom, 2 in each 2x4. And then obviously certain areas were blocked to do that once you put one set in, then kind of blocks you for the other one, which is why you've got the brackets over here, but not over here. Okay, now that we've got our frame built, we've got this 2x4 that we need to drill and screw into the ground. We're gonna be using these expansion bolts. So you take this guy and you pound it into the hole with a hammer, put this nut and washer on the top, tighten it down, and then this piece here expands as you tighten it. And we've got 3 of them, that should be plenty. Really, this is just a thing for the board to sit on and hinge on. So I debated even using them at all, because it's probably not gonna move. But figured it'd be better to have it secure than not. Okay, our base is in. It wasn't too bad. I'm in there nice and snug. Fun fact, these are the same kind of bolts used in a lot of rock climbs to bolt sport climbs. Pound them in, twist them, they expand, and that's what holds that little hanger on there. They also use glue ends now, which are totally different, but these were used for a long time, and I think still might be. We got the hinges laid out, ready to go. Only bummer is I didn't think about this. I should have put this bolt slightly further back so that this hinge could be perfectly centered, but it didn't think about that, and it's a little too late now. So we'll just have it slightly off center. It'll still work fine. But yeah, so now this is the back of the frame. So we're gonna flip it over, and then we're gonna put those hinges on the bottom of it, and then put the plywood on, and then flip it back over so the plywood's facing down, line it up to here, and then screw the hinges in from here. And it's done, sort of. Done to this point. It's just standing there. There's nothing holding the top against the wall. So it is a little sketchy right now. But I think it turned out great. We're doing no T-nuts. Just gonna screw on every hold and just gonna let it be there. And for holds, we're trying to do this whole thing cheap. So I had this idea, get a dowel rod. It's 48 inches. That could be 12 handholds. And just like, look at it. It's like a perfect in-cut crimp. I might have to flatten the back. I got a few different sizes all here. So we're gonna be experimenting with that. It's pre-finished. They're like $3 to $5 a piece, depending on which size you get. So you will not find a better deal on handholds than that. And it's just it's an 8-foot tall bouldering wall. I mean, it's just a training wall. So there's no need to make it super fancy. I just need something functional. But yeah, pretty psyched. Gotta figure out exactly how I want to attach it to the wall. I think I'm gonna do a 2x8 or 2x6 across the top, like a ledger board type thing. My only hesitation is, like, I don't have access to the other side of that wall. Normally, I would want to do a bolt all the way through it with a nut on the other end. So it had a big washer underneath it that it could, have something to grab against and not just threads. But since I don't have access to that wall, I might just have to get some lag screws or something. And I was thinking about it. There's like 7 studs in there. And if you do 3 screws per stud, that's 21 screws. I would like to think that that would hold it. Yeah, check out the side. Like it just sits up against the wall nice and flush, or close to flush, And then even the toolbox drawers still open all the way. And then I can finally put all my stuff away and have a functional garage. Okay, so I thought about it, and yep, definitely putting a ledger board up there at the top. So I went to Home Depot, got the 2x6, figured that's all I need. And we got these structural screws that are like lag screws, but better apparently. So we're gonna do 3 per stud. And there's like 7 or 8 studs along this wall here. So we should end up somewhere between 21 and 24 of those screws. And then we've got some D-rings that we're gonna attach here to the board. And then the same ones will also go on the ledger board. And we'll run chains in between there. And then we're gonna do an electric winch in the middle. But we're gonna mount that over here and run the cable along this wall through a pulley and down. So that the wall can still fold up flat and the winch won't be in the way. But yeah, for now, the winch is gonna have to wait a few weeks. But for now, we're gonna get the ledger board up there and get this thing folded up and settled so that I can clean up the garage and use it again. Okay, so we're fully prepped, I believe. We got our ledger board here, got all our screws ready to go. It's a close-up of what they look like, big beefy ones. Got our D-rings attached, nuts are on the back, bolts sticking out. So we cut some holes in the drywall so the board will sit flush. But yeah, now the fun part's gonna be getting it up there. And as soon as you have 1 screw in, it'll be just fine. But until then, might be a little sketchy. All right, check this out. I have a couple spare 2x4s. And they are almost perfect. They're braced up against this. And I measured it, and it's about 6 inches, maybe a little bit more. So it'll be enough to set the board, the ledger board, up on top of it and have something support it while I, put the screws in. So yeah, have yet to test it, but I'm thinking it's gonna work. Okay, it's working. A little different than I thought. So I had to take the bases out of the framing of the board and put them on the cement and like kick them in. And they're wedged in there. So currently, that's the only thing holding it up. That and then the bolts here going into the holes in the drywall are, helping a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna screw this thing down and that'll be some dang good progress. We have success. Well, so far. I haven't tested it, so we won't know how successful we are until then. But we got the ledger board up, got most of the screws in. There's only 2 that didn't go in, 1 here and then 1 down there. They got in part way and then they like hit something and stopped. So I didn't want to force it. And there was planned to be 24 screws in this 10-foot span, 3 in each stud. But 2 studs only have 2. I think it'll still be just fine. And if needed, we can add more later somehow. Okay, so now that we've got the ledger board up with the D-rings installed, we've got to get some of those same D-rings on the side here of the climbing wall. So we're gonna take this guy and mount it, not that way. Wait, yes, that way. So that when the chain pulls, you know, it's pulling like that. And so we're gonna take these bolts, they're 4 inches long, and run it through 2 studs for a little extra security. The D-rings are in. Got the same one on the other side. So now, I'm gonna clean off all of this stuff and lift it up and hook it into those and see how it does. This is the kind of thing that just makes you say, ooh-wee. Got it rigged up, and it's still just standing there, right? You know, it's still just standing there. But now, if it tips, it just stops. So, yeah. And everything lines up super nicely. And we push this back, purposefully lined these D-rings up so that the wall can still sit pretty flush with them there. Look at that. Okay, next test is I think I'm gonna sling a few quick draws together and tip this thing out, see what some angles look like on it, and see if that ledger board supports it. Would you look at that? Just look at it. I measured it with the phone. It's currently at 20 degrees overhanging. I hung from the top. Felt solid. Man, it just fits in the space perfectly. Man, I'm super happy with this. All right, let's add a few more quick draws, see if we can, what it's like steeper. Here it is at just under 35. Hung on it even more. That ledger board did not move. Didn't creak, nothing. All right, here it is at 50 degrees overhanging. Getting pretty steep. And then I didn't do a kicker due to space limitations, so it's pretty low under there. I imagine at this angle, and depending on the holds, you know, you can get 2 or 3 moves out of it, which is good for some just short, powerful stuff. But there it is. That's the board. Got to make some holds now. Get those on there. Got to get some chains. And then in a few weeks, I'll have that winch that'll help move it. But yeah, psyched. This thing turned out mega. Man, I should have done this a long time ago. This is fantastic.